Welcome to the Chop Seat, where Braves country meets the big leagues. Your host Vic is here to break down everything from truest part to the top of the standings across the league. From walk-offs to wild trades, this is your seat for everything baseball, but a heavy dose of chop. So grab your glove and settle in, because the Chop Seat is open.
Welcome to the Chop Seat, your favorite place for Braves, baseball, and the rest of the league. I'm your host, Vic, and today is Wednesday, October 22nd. We had a Game 7 that was wrapped up. Toronto Blue Jays have punched their ticket to the World Series, first time since 1993. We're going to talk about that Game 7 shortly. We have a bit of some news when it comes to the Braves managerial position. We're going to discuss that briefly. Still, no one has been signed to take over the role, but we do have some news as per Mark Bowman, a beat writer for the Atlanta Braves. We're going to talk about what he reported. We have a couple other teams that have filled their managerial vacancies as well, so we're going to talk about that. But yeah, the stage is set for the World Series, guys. The 2025 World Series is going to start on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern start time. That's going to be on Fox, between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays. We're gonna get into that as well. We're gonna get into that on Friday. We're gonna do a preview of the World Series on Friday before Friday's game. But for today's episode, like I said, we're gonna talk about that Game 7 that took place on Monday between the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays. And then we're gonna talk about some managerial positions that were filled and the Braves managerial position that is still vacant. We usually do tomahawk takes first, but for today, we're going to start off with the MLB.
It's time for the MLB.
Welcome to the MLB, where we take a look at the action from around the league. And the action was only one game that was going on while the Dodgers awaited to see who they were going to be facing in the 2025 World Series. That was a game between the Seattle Mariners at the Toronto Blue Jays at the Rogers Center. But before we get into that, the MLB is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use code CHOPSEAT20 so you can get $20 off your first purchase on SeatGeek. You want to go catch the World Series. Remember, Game 1 is going to be on Friday, Game 2 Saturday, Game 3 Monday, and so forth. Go to CHOPSEAT20 on SeatGeek. Go to CHOPSEAT20 on SeatGeek. Of course, you're going to put it where it says promo code, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. NBA has started. NFL been started. NHL, I don't know if it started. Did it? Probably did. Soccer. Go to any games you want to go see. Use code CHOPSEAT20, and you're going to save $20 off your first purchase on SeatGeek. So Game 7 was started by George Kirby for the Seattle Mariners. He goes 4 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. Very solid start from him. He was going up against Shane Bieber for the Toronto Blue Jays, who went 3 2/3, 7 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. And listen, remember, it was all hands on deck in this ball game. And we're going to talk about who came in after these after both starters. But let's get into the action first. The action started right away. Top of the first inning, Julio Rodriguez, he leads off with a double. He's on second with 1 out for Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor singles, 1 out to right field. Julio Rodriguez scores. That makes it 1-0 Seattle. It was a crazy play there. Josh Naylor, he was running from first to second. Double play, ball was hit. Throw goes to the second baseman. Second baseman throws it. Josh Naylor jumps up, turns around, ball hits him with the helmet. Ball goes flying. It was called interference. That was a double play. They did call it back. So if you haven't seen it, go watch that one. Go watch that play. But Josh Naylor, he was willing to leave it all out there on the field. And as you should, it's a Game 7, so you should be trying to win at all counts. But anyways, that was a 1-0 lead for the Seattle Mariners. The Blue Jays, though, they answered back right away in the bottom of the first with 2 on and 2 outs for Dalton Varsho. He singles to center field. George Springer comes in safely. That makes it 1-1 tie. Again, a quick answer by the Toronto Blue Jays. Top of the third, though, Julio Rodriguez. This time it wasn't a double. This time it was a solo shot to left center field. A 2-1 lead for the Seattle Mariners. Top of the fifth, Kyle Raleigh, big dumper. He dumps one over the right field wall. That was off of Louis Varland. Louis Varland goes 1 inning and a third. That makes it 3-1 Seattle. That was homer number 65 of the season for the big dumper for Kyle Raleigh. Again, 3-1 Seattle. Seattle very close to heading to their first ever World Series. But the Blue Jays, they had other plans. Brian Wu, he had come in up to this point. He had pitched 2 clean innings, trying to finish off the third inning of relief. But again, like I said, the Blue Jays had other plans. This is where the game flips, and it flips big time here in the bottom of the seventh. Addison Barger, he draws a walk. IKF, Isaiah Connor for left field. He gets a single, makes it first and second for Toronto with no outs. Andres Jimenez, he comes in, he lays down a beauty of a sacrifice bunt that makes it second and third with 1 out. Brian Wu's taking out the game. Edward Barzardo is brought into the ball game. I really feel you should have gone with your closer here in this one, Andres Munoz. You should have gone with him. Easy for me to say, but I did say it in the chat when I saw the move go down. I said, you got to go with your closer here. This is the ball game. This is it right here. What happens? He comes into face George Springer. George Springer with a Springer dinger. He springs the Blue Jays out in front. That's a 3-run homer for the Toronto Blue Jays and George Springer. 4-3 lead in Toronto. The stadium is going berserk. Stadium is going crazy. I can't even, dude. It was crazy. He puts the suit jacket on. He's walking down the dugout. High fives for everyone. Amazing, amazing vibes. They take the lead, a crooked number in the bottom of the seventh for the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, 4-3 Toronto lead at this point. And by the way, that's George Springer's 23rd career postseason homer. That ties him now with Kyle Schwarber. Bottom of the eighth, Toronto. They have another chance to add some insurance runs, this time off of the closer, Andres Munoz, who was first and second with no one out. But the Blue Jays cannot cash in. Very golden opportunity they had at this moment against the Seattle closer. But this game remains not tied, but the game remains at 4-3 Toronto, heading into the top of the ninth. Top of the ninth, Jeff Hossman. I was about to say Jeff Hossman comes in. But before we get into Jeff Hoffman, terrific job by the Blue Jays bullpen. After Louis Varland, it was Sir Anthony Dominguez. He pitched 1 clean inning. Kevin Gossman, he came out in relief as well. He pitched 1 clean inning, and so did Chris Bassett, and that was a bridge going into Jeff Hoffman coming into the game in the top of the ninth. He comes in very, very good. He strikes out Leo Rivas. He strikes out pinch hitter Dominic Canzone, and then he strikes out Julio Rodriguez, strikes out the side. Kyle Raleigh, big dumper, is left in the on-deck circle. That is game over. Seattle Mariners are eliminated. Toronto Blue Jays are your American League champions. Congratulations to the Toronto Blue Jays. They have punched their ticket to the World Series with a 4-3 win in this Game 7. Like I said in the opening, they are advancing to the World Series for the first time since 1993. Congrats to the Toronto Blue Jays. Big, big win. And listen, great season for the Mariners also. You got to give them credit. Great season for the Mariners. They just came up short. You got to wonder if Andres Munoz would have been brought in that bottom of the seventh with 1 out, runners on second and third, how the ball game would have went. But that's just for us to wonder about, because that is not what happened. What happened was George Springer goes deep against Edward Barzardo, and that gives the Blue Jays a 4-3 lead, and that's how it stays for the remainder of the ball game. Again, Toronto Blue Jays heading to the World Series. I remember I had them picked to go to the World Series. I keep saying it. I'm gonna have to put that video up here. One of these videos I'm gonna make an edit and put me saying that I had the Blue Jays going to the World Series. I had them going against the Padres, though. I had them losing against the Padres. But I'll have my pick on Friday. Friday, I'll have my pick, but I am leaning towards going Toronto over the Dodgers. But I'll make my pick official Friday's episode before Game 1. That is all I have for the MLB segment. Actually, no. That's all I have for the Game 7 for the playoffs. But let's talk about those managerial positions, and then we're going to head into Tomahawk Takes. I'm going to bring this techno beat down for this one. Actually, I'll keep it for the moment. But when it comes to managers, the Los Angeles Angels, they hired Braves legend Kurt Suzuki as their manager. He was previously a special assistant in the front office. So congrats to Kurt Suzuki. I believe it's on a 1-year deal. But I have to look up some more just to confirm that. But that's one manager position that has been fulfilled. And then the other one was the San Francisco Giants. They went out and hired Tony Vitello from the University of Tennessee, who's a manager over there. It was at the University of Tennessee since 2017. They won a national title back last year, in 2024. They had a couple more other trips to the College World Series in 2021 and 2023. And before getting to Tennessee, he was the assistant baseball coach at Missouri, TCU, and Arkansas from 2003 to 2017. Seems like they're going to have his introductory press conference October 30th for those San Francisco Giant fans that want to hear that. I want to hear your thoughts, though. Angels fans, I want to hear your thoughts on Kurt Suzuki being hired as the new manager. And also, Giants fans, I want to hear your thoughts on Tony Vitello being hired as San Francisco Giants manager. As for the Braves, and this is where actually we're going to make our transition into Tomahawk Takes. So we can get into this one. It's going to be a quick Tomahawk Takes segment, I promise.
It's time for Tomahawk Takes.
Welcome to Tomahawk Takes, where we talk some Braves baseball. And this is the updates that we had when it comes to the managerial position that is vacant right now for the Atlanta Braves, of course, after Brian Snitker has stepped into a new special advisory position. It was, as per beat writer Mark Bowman for the Atlanta Braves, he did state that former Blue Jays manager John Gibbons is not a candidate, and also that there is no indication that David Ross or Mark DeRosa are being looked at for the vacant manager position. He stated that they could be confidently removed from the running. So those that were speculating on those 3 names, you can start taking those names out of the picture. I had seen Kurt Suzuki's name being floated around. Also did see Tony Vitello's name being floated around, so you can remove those from there as well. Mark Bowman, he said that he pretty much didn't eliminate Walt Weiss, bench coach Walt Weiss, of course, and coach Eddie Perez from the running. So you still got to consider them out there. We got to make sure to keep them in mind just in case. But Bowman did state that current Dodgers bench coach Danny Lehman, his candidacy has seemingly strengthened over the past couple of weeks. He's been the bench coach for Dave Roberts for the last 3 years, and he's been with LA with the Dodgers for the past decade. And he actually was, remember when Alex Anthopoulos was there as the assistant, not assistant, but as a vice president of baseball operations in 2016 and 2017. Danny Lehman was there as well, so they have worked together. So something to consider there. And obviously, we've seen the Dodgers been ran as a very, very good franchise and very good the way they ran things thus far. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Danny Lehman become manager for the Braves. He's had a lot of different roles with the organization. Let me look that up real quick just to give you guys an idea of what he's done with his time with the Dodgers. He's been game planning / communication coach, a special assistant with the front offense, and an advanced video scout. So the guy, you can tell that he's been a big, big study of the game, an in-depth study when it comes to the game of baseball. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him maybe get hired and put my boy Chipper Jones as the hitting coach. But we'll see. We're gonna have to wait and see. Of course, Dodgers are, of course, in the World Series, so we're gonna have to see if we're probably gonna have to wait until after the World Series if it is Danny Lehman for him to be announced as Braves manager. And also a couple more names that have been floated around. Cubs bench coach Ryan Flaherty and Tigers bench coach George Lombard are two other potential candidates. Ryan Flaherty, he was a finalist for the Padres job back in 2023. And then George Lombard, he was a candidate for the Marlins and White Sox job last year. So another two guys that are two names that are being thrown out there for the Braves managerial vacancy. So something to keep an eye out for and keep in mind when it comes to finding out who's going to be the Braves manager, the next Braves manager. I did have a fan write in, which I thought was a good one. I think the name was Braves Fan 69. It was on TikTok, but they mentioned Terry Pendleton. I wouldn't be opposed to Terry Pendleton also. So who knows? Who knows? That's a good name to throw out there. That's a very good name. Terry Pendleton, Chipper Jones as the hitting coach. That's a good duo right there, I would say. But we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. Again, probably after the World Series, we're gonna get our manager announcement. But we'll be back on Friday before Game 1 of the World Series to preview that series, the final series of the year. It's crazy to say it went by so quick this year, and we're gonna have a new champion crowned pretty soon. Is it gonna be the Blue Jays for the first time since 1993? Or is it going to be the Dodgers going back-to-back champions for the first time since the since the 1998 to 2000 New York Yankees? So again, we're going to have to wait and see how that goes down. But we'll be back to preview that on Friday. As for now, if you want to keep in touch, make sure to follow on Instagram at the Chopsy Pod or Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Excuse me, not Instagram, or Facebook, TikTok / I don't know what I'm saying. Twitter /X at the Chopsy. Again, let me repeat that. Instagram, it's at the Chopsy Pod, and then Facebook, Twitter /X, and TikTok, it's at the Chopsy. So if you want to keep in touch until Friday's episode, make sure to reach out on those social media platforms and send any questions. If you got any questions and you got any takes, any thoughts on the Braves managerial position, thoughts on the two signings when it comes to the Giants and the Angels picking up their managers. If you have any thoughts on that as well, let me know in the comments on this video or through the social media platforms. Anyways, till then, I'm your host Vic, and I will see you on Friday here next time on the Chop Seat.